Yeah. Yeah, move forward. We're expecting to fill the room.
Hello, everybody. I am Joy Plummer. I am the Assistant Director of Engagement here at Temple Isaiah. And I plan programming for our senior members. I want to tell you about the 4 programs we have coming up through the summer. So this month, we have on May 31st, a program. These are all for Wise Ones Out and About, which is our senior programs that happen off campus generally. And so the first event on May 31st at 5 p.m., that's a Sunday, is at a place called the Cheese Parlor in Livermore. And it will be a tasting of 4 different cheeses, 2 beers and 2 wines, and some learning about pairings between cheeses and wines and cheeses and beers. So please join us for that. That will be a lot of fun. Check your Shavua Tov for that. Check your Shavua Tov every Sunday. I will tell you, I leave the Shavua Tov in my inbox until the following Sunday, and then I erase the last one. You do that too, Lorraine? Very good. Yes. Check your Shavua Tov for all things coming up at Temple Isaiah. In June, on June 11th, I have the group going to see a show called by a band called the Sun Kings. They're a Beatles cover band that is at Moraga Commons. This is for the Moraga concerts in the Commons. That's June 11th from 6:30 to 8:30 on a Thursday evening, the Sun Kings. I've seen them before, they're fabulous. On July 19th, on a Sunday, at 3:15 at the Lesher in Walnut Creek, we have an event called Spontaneous Shakespeare, which is improvised Shakespeare, which sounds challenging and fun. And the date is July 19th. And then on August 7th, we have a tour of the Frank Lloyd Wright Civic Center in San Rafael. That is a Friday morning from 10:30 to noon. Again, that's August 7th. So check your Shavua Tov for all of these events. These are not set in stone quite yet. I am working on solidifying, but this is the calendar that, well, the Cheese Parlor event is definitely happening. That one is at the end of this month. But the rest I am still working on just a little bit to finalize. So if you have any questions, you are always welcome to contact me. I have some business cards here. Any questions about Wise Ones Out and About? No? All right. Thank you all. Good to see you. Yes.
Hello, I'm Julie Bell. It's nice to see all of you. This Thursday is Shavuot starts on Thursday evening, so 7 o'clock there's a program here at called A Celebration of Choice and Conversion in the Oneg Room. And then Friday morning, the synagogue will be closed, and they will have a morning service for Shavuot in here with Yisker, and you can join for that. And then I want to share with y'all today's poem/prayer, which most of us know who Alden Solovey is. He's a poet that we've learned from, and I think he actually came as an artist in resident one time. But he wrote this poem. It's called For the Missing, and it seemed like a very appropriate poem prayer for today. God of the frightened, God of the missing and lost, return them to the cradle of their family's arms and the refuge of their home, speedily, in life and in health. Watch over them, protect them, shelter them from harm, deliver them from evil acts and evil intent. Bless the professionals and volunteers dedicated to their return. Grant them skill, insight, fortitude, and luck. God of old, during this time of dismay and dread, it feels too much to bear. Grant their family endurance, hope, and faith that they will soon be reunited with their loved one in the fullness of joy. Holy One, Protector and Redeemer, hear our prayer. I think that's beautiful. So, Jan's gonna explain to us about the program, and we're very grateful that y'all are here.
Thanks, Julie. Hello, everybody. Welcome. I'm Jan Trasnewski, and I want to thank you all for coming today. This is our Wise Ones meeting, and we gather every third Wednesday of the month, and next month will be Evelyn Gretz. We'll welcome Evelyn on June 17th. She is our Temple Rebbitzin Emerita, and she will share her experience living in Nepal for a month with a family while she taught in a school. So that should be very interesting, and I believe she's done research on other types of volunteer tourism. So I hope you all come, and I hope you bring your friends as well. Now it's my pleasure to introduce John Callan. John and his wife Deborah, there she is, over there, have been members of Temple Isaiah for quite a while, and they will always found opportunities to volunteer, all the time. And in a lot of different ways. So I wasn't surprised when I learned that John had joined the Contra Costa Search and Rescue Team. And Deborah just told me, you've been there for 17 years. That's amazing. And guess what? He's now the executive director. So we're so pleased to have you come. I was so excited when you accepted my invitation for you to come today. And there's also Laura here, his co-worker, and Koa, the search and rescue dog. So please join me in welcoming John and Laura, and he'll be telling us all about what he does. Thanks. Thanks, John.
Thank you, Jan and Julie. Appreciate the invitation. There's microphones everywhere here. Anyway, raise your hand if you can't hear. And some of the type is a little small. If you want to move up, I know we were planning on filling the whole hall, but I don't know that we're going to make it tonight. But again, thanks for the invitation. Koa was a surprise guest today, but since she's not too fond of public speaking, she brought her favorite human, Laura Carmody, who has also been on the team for 15 years. We all wear a lot of different hats. She's one of our prime medical instructors. She handles the canines. and probably does about a dozen other things for the team, along with her husband. We have a lot of families who belong to the team as well. So what I want to do today is tell you a little bit about search and rescue. Some of you said, I didn't know we had a team. Others said, I know other people who are on your team. So I'll tell you a little bit about what we do, how we train, and then some stories about some of the searches we've been on. I think we'll have enough time. If you have a burning question while we're talking, you raise your hand, but we should have some time at the end for question and answer as well. So who we are. Right now, it's kind of the biggest team we've had in a while. We're a self-managed team. Right now, about 240 members. And again, we all have this common mission. We're all volunteers, but the mission is, I want a copy of that prayer, by the way. That was awesome. Because that really describes who we are and what we do. We have a lot of diverse backgrounds, ages, everything from teenagers up through really old guys like me. Mission ready, professionally trained. We do all our training internally, but we also send people to outside seminars. There are organizations, every county has its own search and rescue team, and they get together and share ideas and techniques and tools and things like that. We're trained to search in all kinds of environments, urban, suburban, wilderness, and we provide mutual aid, which is when one county has got a search, and they may exhaust their resources if the search goes on for a while, or they don't have as big a team, because we're one of the largest teams in California. They call mutual aid, and other counties will send their teams in to help. And as Jan mentioned, we're a unit of the Sheriff's Department, even though we are all volunteers, but we have to comply with the Sheriff's rules and regulations and be professional. So I'm going to show a little video which kind of describes the different resources and what we do, and hopefully the sound will work. This was made for us by KTVU a few years ago. You got over that.
The Contra Costa County Office of the Sheriff's Search and Rescue, or SAR team for short, specializes in finding lost or missing people and reuniting them with their families.
We have our canine unit, we have a tracking unit, metal detector, mountain resource, urban search and rescue cadets, which are our youth of ages 14 to 17.
We train to deploy for up to 72 hours unsupported on any terrain and any weather in the state of California. We might walk into the search area, we might be inserted by helicopter or ATV. It can be really, really demanding. Some of the terrain we get into is vertical terrain, no trails, lots of brush and poison oak and nasty vegetation.
We have 6 dogs on the team. They're trained in various disciplines. If you think about a missing person and their last known point, they could go in any direction. That's a huge search area. But if the dogs can give us an idea of the direction that a missing person went, then we can focus the human searching in a much smaller area and have a greater chance of success.
We're going to come back up Alhambra Creek Trail.
Every minute the person is missing, the search area becomes larger. By sitting with the family and learning about the missing person, the SAR team can direct their resources more appropriately.
You basically have a 360-degree circle that keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger as long as the person's been gone. Well, rather than just send searchers out at random looking for clues and looking for subjects, one of our goals is to learn as much as we can about the missing subject. They are desperate for any kind of help. This is probably one of the worst days of their life. We have to assure them that there's a lot going on out there, and we're here to help them.
You see the family that is missing a family member, and you know that what you're doing is helping them out at a personal level.
The Contra Costa SAR team is a nonprofit organization. They wear sheriff's badges and uniforms, but they are made up entirely of volunteers.
It's a sense of giving back to the community. It's a sense of community spirit, and you'll find that in every search and rescue member. Our motto is that others may live. That kind of summarizes our mission and why we're out here.
Help the Contra Costa SAR team continue the search. Visit their website to see them in action and to find out more. ContraCostaSAR.org.
Okay, that gives you some idea. All of us are trained as what we call ground pounders or ground searchers, but we have a lot of subspecialties on the team, and people tend to find their niche. Getting feedback here, I don't know, can you hear me okay? How about this? I'll just step back, okay. Anyway, we have a bike team, we've got canines, as you're going to learn more about in a little while. Human trackers, which they don't have to have Indian blood, but it helps. But basically, they look at footprints and trails, and they can see a bit of disturbed brush and determine that somebody may have gone this way, or it could be a raccoon. You never know. Metal detectors, drones. We'll talk about all of these individually. But everybody kind of finds a niche, and many of us wear multiple hats, because when the search happens, we never know who's going to be available. We all have lives, many have jobs, whatever. So that's one of the reasons the team is so large, is so we can get enough people coming out on a search, and you never know what position you might be put in. So we train it in a lot of different areas. We're really proud of the cadet program. You saw that mentioned. This is a program for high school aged, I won't call them children, because young adults, they are amazing people. 14 to 17, they go through a screening process, and they do all of the same training, the academy and all the same training that the adult members do, and perform all of the same duties. Sometimes they are leading a team. The only thing they're not allowed to do is drive the sheriff's vehicles. But otherwise, like I said, I've met some amazing, amazing young adults. A couple of them I had to talk to their parents and say, please don't let her go to college. We don't want to lose her. You know? And some have come back when they graduated. We're all Red Cross certified. Laura is one of our Red Cross trainers when she's not moonlighting as an ER nurse. But that's an internal course that we teach as well. We train the trainers, and then they train the rest of the team. The Sheriff's Office is very generous. They provide the vehicles that we use and some of the shared equipment. And that comes in very handy, but we have to fill those vehicles. This truck is an example. We call it our heavy rescue truck. When it came to us from the sheriff, it was empty. And you see all these wonderful compartments and hiding places for equipment. We had to raise money to buy all of that equipment for the team and to maintain these supplies. Again, our ongoing operating budget and all of our expendable equipment, new equipment like e-bikes or drones, things like that, we have to raise the money for. There's also an expense for the team members. When they join, they have to buy their own personal equipment, whether that be backpacks or boots or new cell phone, something like that. Some of us are kind of closet gearheads, so we love to exchange ideas about a neat little flashlight or something that somebody found and find new ways to spend our money. But at the end of the day, SAR is not like any other volunteer job. One of the few volunteer jobs you can get fired from for the wrong behavior. But more importantly, it's life or death work. Every search is an emergency by nature. We don't always find our missing subject. Sometimes it can go on for days or turn into what we call possible alien abduction. And eventually they may turn up. Sometimes they're in good condition when we find them. Sometimes they're injured or worse. So again, it's a serious business, and we always have to be professional, because when we're out on a search, sometimes the media is there watching and filming. Family members may be in the command post. So again, we have to, even if we're exhausted and getting punchy in the middle of the night, we have to maintain a very professional demeanor at all times. And we're on call 24/7. So part of it, again, it's an emergency when it happens. It never happens at a convenient time. We've had calls in the middle of Thanksgiving dinner, other holidays, middle of the day when people are working. One of the things we tell people to do when we're screening them for the team is talk to your family, talk to your coworkers or your boss. Are they comfortable with what you're signing up for? Because it's no fun when you're in the middle of a family event or whatever, and the call comes and you say, sorry, gotta leave, can you find a way home, hon? And it happens. So how does this happen? What happens when somebody goes missing? First, Billy wanders away somewhere, goes missing at a fair or from home, and the family looks around for a while. They search up, down, sideways, sometimes for minutes, sometimes for hours, and then they call the police, who come out and do their investigation and do some searching. But if you're in a town like Lafayette, Orinda, whatever, they may not have very many assets, very many officers on duty at any given time. And they have a town to run. So they're going to tap out their resources pretty quickly. And again, this is not their core area of training either. So then I like to joke and say, they wait until it's cold and dark and rainy, and then they call the volunteers. So they activate search and rescue, and that goes through a little process. They have to call the sheriff's department and request assistance. The sheriff then talks to our management, our captain, and they have to evaluate, do we have a search? Because we're not going to call volunteers out if the person is in a car and could be anywhere. What's the exigency? Is it the middle of a nice day and we got a missing hiker who's got all his equipment with him and he knows how to take care of himself? Not necessarily so urgent. But if it's a missing child, maybe an autistic child, somebody with Alzheimer's, dementia wandered away, again, that's a more urgent, depending on the weather conditions and the survivability. So we evaluate all that, and then all of us get a text, an email, and a phone call, and saying, can you respond? And then we add it up and see how many people are coming and do we have enough assets. Again, one of the priorities, as you saw in the film, is figuring out which way did the person go. So we're not just searching in a huge circle. And that's where the canines can be critical for their skills in helping us point in the right direction. I'll have Laura tell you a little bit more about that, the different kinds of canines, and off you go.
Seats.
You can talk to that or here, I don't know.
Yeah.
Does that work?
Can you hear me? Okay. As John said, my name is Laura. I'm a search and rescue volunteer by day and night, and by day and evening, an emergency nurse. I've been on the team for 15 years, and I've been working COA for 3. Before COA, my husband worked a dog. We both have worked what's called a trailing dog, which is what COA is. COA seats? Flats? Light. She is an area dog, which means that she is scent specific. This is one of 3 main types of dogs on the team. If someone goes missing, we ask the family for an article of clothing, something they touch a lot. It might be a teddy bear, something scent specific. Maybe Isaac's belongings when he's helping us search for someone. And we present it to the dog at a place the person was last known to be. It could be a residence, it could be a street corner, it could be their car at Trailhead. We present that to her and or the dog, and they will follow that specific scent. That is a trailing dog. There are also area dogs, which are any human scent and any deceased human. So those dogs are great for large open areas, say, missing from the Lafayette Reservoir into Las Trampas. Those dogs can be deployed off leash, whereas she is on leash, and they cover large amounts of area and report back to their handler, signaling, I have found someone. And that dog then has done its job. She finds the person at the end of a scent trail. There's a third type of dog, which is human remains detection dog. So dogs specifically trained to find deceased, so decompensating or bones, blood splatter, that sort of thing. So any dog that is an area dog by state regulations to be deployed, they must also be cross-trained in HRD. Many trailing dogs are also cross-trained. COA is one test away from being cross-trained. in HRD. So it's an asset for different types of searches and requests from police departments and sheriff department. The trailing dogs to, to start a dog for training, we have to first test the dog for suitability. We need to have a dog who has high drive. Some of you at the table saw how motivated she was to get a small morsel of food that was left under the table. But that's the kind of drive we want in a dog, because they are very, very focused on finding that person when they're given the command that they are working. They need to be motivated, and they need to be intelligent. And so you need a dog who is going to work through problems, such as chain link fencing. If the scent is coming through the chain link fence, you can't have a dog that just goes, I can't get there. You need a dog that's going to try and work it with the handler to try to figure out how to follow that scent. We take about 12 to 24 months to train a dog in trailing. Trailing is actually somewhat more difficult than training an area dog, but it's about a 24-month training. We do that 3 days a week, well, 2 days a week in trailing, and then 1 day a week in HRD training. So it is quite a commitment. I probably spend over 40 hours a month training. Well, I know I spend over 40 hours a month training her between all the trainings, and then I do training off SAR time also. We have to reinforce all the things at home, so obedience, can't have a dog just running amok. We have to have a dog that will follow commands. I don't know if you noticed that I have her on hand signals as well as verbal. I have to be able to, if my dog is running, that way, I need to be able to stop her mid-run. I need to be able to not just stop her, but to get her to lay down. That can be for safety of her or safety of others. People don't know that she's as friendly as she is. She can look scary. Our dogs can look scary, but they're not. They like people. As far as, I had some questions about where does she live? Well, she lives with me. All of our handlers purchase their dog or already have the dog, purchase all food, all equipment. That's all on the handler, so that's my like a volunteer dollar that I put out there. So we are all self-contained as the handler. So the value of a trailing dog like Koa is in Contra Costa, and the reason I chose to do a trailing dog for training is most of our searches are urban-suburban. They are an autistic child runs away, or an adult, someone with dementia or memory problems goes missing, gets out of the house. Those are like, I don't know what it's called, bread and butter, but the bread and butter of our searches. We don't have large, vast areas like some of the mountain counties have, although her last search was in Las Trampas. But the dogs are able to go down a sidewalk, know that the person crossed in the middle of the sidewalk and follow it right across the street into wherever that person walked. And for trailing, we have to have access to a scent article. The last search that we did not have a scent article because it was a car at a trailhead and no ability to get a scent article. So the car was popped open by the police authorized tow truck to come and pop open. And I used a glove and a sterile gauze, wiped the seat and the headrest and the steering wheel, the places where that person would have touched, and that's what I presented her with. And so that's the subtlety of the scent that they can work off of. She may not find the person, and indeed, she did not find the person in that search, but it did give the direction of travel, and so that's the value. If we have a person missing, we have a 360-degree circle of where we need to search. But if the dog can give a direction of travel, we can then allocate resources to a pie shape, or more resources to a pie shape area versus, you know, everywhere around. So that's the value of a trailing dog. And so it can help in planning for future assignments that they're giving out to people who are searching. And Isaac is one of the people on our team who comes out and helps hide for our dogs so that we can train them on different scents, because I think they would all get tired of just searching for each handler's friends, you know. So that's it in a nutshell, the dogs, okay? If you have questions later, you can come up and ask if you want to give treats or pet her. She lives for treats. When she's working, she works for her toy, which is a ball she never gets unless she has found somebody. And she makes them very slobbery.
Thanks, Laura.
Good girl. Thank you. This one.
Now, we talked about new technologies that we're trying to add to the team, now e-bikes. More and more now we're using drones as well. That's a very valuable asset. But we're thinking about how can we combine some of these technologies, because if one of the first things we want on a search is the dog, what if we could use the drone to get the dog there faster? Anyway, just AI, got it. So seriously though, we do a lot of studying of missing person and lost person behavior. There's a ton of science behind it. They've studied thousands and thousands of cases. And while it's not perfect, we know that different types of subjects behave differently when they're lost. An Alzheimer dementia subject has certain behaviors. An autistic subject may be attracted to certain types of things like water, shiny objects. A 4-year-old is going to behave different when lost than a 10-year-old. So again, knowing the science behind the subjects gives us clues on how and where to search. One example, recently we had a search late last year in San Ramon. This is a lady who was showing early signs of dementia. She lived with her family, and she used to love taking walks. She was a good walker, and she used to go out every afternoon and take about a 10, 15-minute walk around the neighborhood. But one day she didn't come back. So the son called the police called us. She left about 6:15. By the time all the procedures and searches and everything happened, search and rescue was activated at 1 o'clock in the morning. So at that point, she had a pretty good head start. But by sitting with the family, we learned about her. We learned, number one, that she had a fixed route. Not sure if you can see this at all, but the yellow box up here is her house. And she used to, I don't know if this works any better, she used to take that red line all the way around and come back in a big loop. But what happened, we found out, A, she took this fixed route. B, she didn't like to walk in the dark. So we learned more about her behavior. What was she likely to do when it got dark? Is she going to keep walking, hunker down somewhere, whatever? So a lot of that intelligence helped us focus our search. Now, the police had searched. They'd driven the neighborhoods. But again, it was middle of the night. They had 3 officers on duty. So they did driving assignments with their car. We sent ground searchers out and kind of saturated the area. And it turns out we located her about 2 hours later, 1 block from her house where that red star is on the graphic. Turned out what she did is she came around and made a left turn 1 block too early. And she went down to the end of the cul-de-sac, found a house that looked kind of like hers. It was dark, she didn't want to walk anymore, sat down on the front porch and waited for her family to come home and let her in. The reason the police didn't see her is that there were some bushes, there was a porch light, which attracted her. And then when we finally got there, the team and the police couldn't convince her that that was not her house. Finally, we brought her son over from the house, and he convinced her to go home after she got checked out by the paramedics. But again, that was a case of using intelligence and investigation to help us focus where to search. In addition to missing persons, we have other assignments since we are all trained in different capabilities. We provide medical support for a lot of community events. Lafayette Reservoir Run, 4th of July Parade in Orinda, Danville. This picture shows search last year at the 4th of July Parade. A little Asian boy came walking up to the command post, didn't know where he was. He was about 3 years old, and we were trying to interview him. Do you know what your mother's name is? Yeah, Mommy. Okay, Daddy's name, Daddy. So he wasn't much help, but we kept him company and had the police in the area and our people looking for Mom. Finally, a frantic mother came up to the command post and we reunited them. We have a metal detector team that does a lot of work helping law enforcement. It's not so much for missing people, but evidence searches. So if they're searching for a crime scene, somebody discarded a weapon, looking for maybe shell casings, things like that, they will call in our metal detector team and they can comb through, dense brush, water, you name it, and sometimes find evidence that helps them make their case. Some of the missions are a little bit unusual. This one happened once. Park rangers on Mount Diablo found a huge marijuana farm about halfway up the mountain. And they needed help harvesting and getting rid of all this stuff. So who are you going to call? Got a bunch of trained volunteers who were sworn by the sheriff. So we went up there and spent a very hot couple of days harvesting truckloads of marijuana. They had armed police around in case the bad guys came back. We did have some cadets on the search with us, and we did a pat down on the way out to make sure they weren't, although probably the adults are more likely to take some free samples than the kids, actually. We are training in disaster SAR, disaster search and rescue. We're prone to fires, earthquake, other disasters. And again, we will check first to make sure our families are okay, but the next step is to call out and help for some disaster search and rescue. This was a case in Butte County several years ago when the Paradise Fire destroyed the town. 44 different counties deployed their search and rescue teams for days looking for several hundred people per operational period, and we got sent in before the public was allowed back in, looking for human remains and other evidence articles, working with the coroner, because we found a lot of animal bones, and then we had to have that checked out to find out is this human or animal. So it was pretty grueling work, and we all had to be decontaminated afterwards because all of this ash and everything was full of toxic stuff. But the core mission remains searching for missing people and treating them if needed and returning them to their loved ones safely. We sometimes get help from the community, and it's a real force extender for us. And I urge you all, if you haven't, I think I put a pamphlet outside. Sometimes our missing subjects are spotted by community members because they hear a notice online or through a community warning system, whether it's next door. Pay attention to the local police Facebook page. You'll see a notice like the thing on the right here. They'll put out saying, we're looking for this missing person. Here's a picture. Here's where he was seen last. And we've had people call us up and say, I saw that guy. I sat next to him on a park bench about 3 hours ago. So pay attention to those notifications because sometimes it can be a big help. Which leads me to the next question, is Good Samaritans help or hindrance? And the answer is both. As I mentioned, we get spontaneous volunteers who can come out. They can't help us search because of the training, but sometimes we'll have them pass out flyers or just talk to them about, have they seen anything? Sometimes they actually find a missing person and they can help us locate them. On the flip side, often they don't know that that person is missing. And being good Samaritans that they are, they will help that person. So sometimes they provide assistance and either give them money to go to BART or bus fare, or sometimes actually transport them out of our area, but they don't know the person's missing, so they don't notify anybody. We had a search in Concord a few years ago. A gentleman in a wheelchair wearing a red sweatshirt left a care facility in the middle of the day. So you think, okay, how hard in downtown Concord is it going to be to spot some guy in a red sweatshirt in a wheelchair in the middle of the day? No, we couldn't find him. And we accessed a lot of local cameras. We found a gas station camera where a guy in a pickup truck pulled up, put this wheelchair in the back seat, in the back of the truck, put the guy in the truck, and drove him who knows where, but police got a call several hours later. He turned out at the VA hospital in San Francisco. He was okay. But again, they often will help somebody out of the area and not tell. This was another example, San Ramon search a couple years ago already. Lady who lived near her 2 adult sons in Crockett, and they were concerned she was showing some memory issues and they wanted to get a diagnosis, so they were going to take her to her doctors in San Ramon. But they didn't want to tell her because she wouldn't go probably. So they said, Mom, we're going to take you out to lunch. That's why I nicknamed this Don't Lie to Your Mama search, because they were driving her to San Ramon, and then as they were almost there, they said, well, we're not going to lunch, we're going to see Doc Jones. And she wasn't happy. So while the daughter-in-law was working on the appointment details, the son was parking the car, Mom took off. And she was a good walker. So again, I don't know if you can see here, the red dot up by the arrow in the upper right is where her doctor's office was. She came across, I guess that might be Crow Canyon, paralleled 680 going south. By the time we were called out, we had some sightings on a traffic camera further south, and all those lines down at the bottom show the areas we were focusing our search. But she had a good head start, and it was dark, and she ended up walking 14 miles. She took a right turn at near 580, parallel the freeway there, ended up in Castro Valley. Middle of the night, walk up a total stranger's driveway, knocks on the door, says, can you drive me to Crockett? And he did. Really nice guy, right? All in the middle of the night, all the way to Crockett. And we're still searching. So I'm interviewing one brother at the command post, and we get a phone call from the other brother saying, hey, Mom's home. So at least it was a happy ending. We had a search recently, I think you mentioned Las Trampas. This is one that was particularly difficult. A lady went missing. Police found her car at the end of a parking lot at the end of Bollinger Canyon. 27 years old, and she'd been out for overnight, a long time. And we were activated at 3 o'clock on a Sunday afternoon. The terrain was miserable. I don't know if you've been to that park, but out at the San Ramon area, it's just real steep hills up and down, thick brush, lots of poison oak. And one of our ground teams, the parks had done a good job searching. They had helicopters and drones and a lot of people up there, but the brush was so thick. They did locate her at 8:30 that night. You can see the kind of terrain that they were in. And it's a miracle that our ground team spotted her because she was invisible from the air. They happened to see her. She was down a gully, basically partially sitting in a stream and with some injuries. But they were able to treat her medically. We tried to send some ground teams in there with a stretcher to carry her out, and it was not going to be possible. So they ended up airlifting her out, lifting her on a helicopter that CHP sent over, and then we moved her to our command post, which was just a short distance away. So that one turned out well. But it took all the resources we had, drones, dogs, ground teams, and everything to make it come out right. This last one was one of our repeat customers, Luba. It was personal for me. The first call out happened, she used to walk with her husband, and then her husband's health deteriorated, and so she would go out and walk on her own and didn't come back one day. So we were called out, and as I was given the address and heading down to San Ramon to help out with the search, I recognized as my daughter's next door neighbor. And I knew the lady. I mean, nice Russian lady, used to sit on her front porch and play with my grandson. And fortunately, we found her relatively quickly that first time. She was walking and actually about to go down an on-ramp on the 680. But we managed to get her back home. But then a couple years later, she went missing again. And this time we didn't find her so quickly. It was the middle of summer. I think we hunted for about we were into the 4th day. And we were very concerned it was not going to be a rescue, but possibly a recovery at that point. Media was heavily involved.
A frantic day-long search for a missing grandmother with dementia is over, and the news is good. Good evening, I'm Anna Durangelo.
And I'm Brian Hackney. After 4 days of searching, rescue crews found 77-year-old Luba Lushurovich. She had gone for a walk on Wednesday, but she never returned home. They found her this afternoon near a creek along Norris Canyon Road in San Ramon. It's not far from her home. KPIX5's Mark Kelly tells us the woman was found because a dog put searchers on the right track.
This is why search and rescue crews do this kind of work.
Words just can't express how happy we are.
173 volunteers, thousands of man-hours, and 4 days after she wandered from her San Ramon home, Luba Lushurovich was found safe and sound.
I mean, what can I say? It's a miracle.
And it's all thanks to the instincts of a yellow lab named Ammo and the training of its owner. The volunteers from the California Rescue Dog Association found Luba behind a home along Norris Canyon Road.
There was a little creek, and I looked down and I called her name and saw her, and she waved her arm, and I went down and held her hand, and that was the best feeling in the world.
Police credit everyone's specialized training.
These are incredibly extraordinary people from every ordinary walk of life that have extra special skills, and they all have a passion to do what they've done.
Saturday, search and rescue cast a wider net, getting help from 9 counties and 2 state agencies. But Luba suffers from dementia, and each passing hour had teams more worried, especially considering the blazing East Bay heat. As far as what Gene Lushurovich will say to his mom when he sees her again, well, sounds like a little tough love.
I love you. That's all, and please don't do it again.
In San Ramon, Mark Kelly, KPIX5.
So when somebody says, why do you guys do that? That's why. Anyway, thank you very much. We're grateful for the community support, the sheriff's support, and look forward to seeing you again, but hopefully not in a search and rescue capacity. Does anybody have any? Thank you. Any questions?
But I'm not running.
Okay.
Hi. I was wondering about the dog. So can you have other dogs in your household, or is it just a one-dog household?
So currently one dog. Currently, Co is an only child. But when my husband was working a dog, we had 2 dogs at the same time. You know, it's harder with 2 dogs to have, even if they're not working. But she's an only child, and she acts like it.
Could you have a working dog and just like a regular pet dog? And so they have different rules, and they're okay with that?
So the other dog by nature was highly trained also, but just not trained to search. Because both the dogs, the dogs were both highly trained. One was trained in search, but you can't have one dog running amok and the other totally obedient. It's just chaos. So they were both very well trained, but only one was working.
Question, how do you mechanically train a dog to, let's say, do something like that? What is your technique? It sounds a fabulous thing to do, but how do you do it?
So right now we have a dog that is puppy training. So by that I mean it's looks larger than Koa, is almost 2 years old, but we are doing puppy tracks. So we have felt squares and treats and a spray bottle. And we have a person with their toy, which is only given to them during a search or training at the end of it as a reward. And that person takes the squares and they will scuff a little bit at the beginning to leave a lot of scent, place down one of the red squares, put a treat on it, and then they have a spray bottle that they have a piece of gauze that they have taken a lot of their scent, skin cells, because that's basically what the dog is scenting, is rafts of skin that you have left behind. And that is in the bottle with the water. So they spray their scent as they're going, which is a hydrated, strong scent. And the dog is then kept motivated and on that track. The human is using the red squares to see because they cannot smell, and they follow that along, and the person hides at the end. When the dog finds them, there's a lot of fanfare and praise, and they get their toy thrown. And so their reward, frankly, the dogs don't really care that you're lost. They want their ball at the end. That's the truth of the matter. But so then the dog is heavily rewarded with ball play at the end, and that's reinforced. After straight lines, we go to a turn, and then we go from grass terrain to dirt terrain. We do sidewalks, so then they start learning different terrains. And the cloths get removed, the spray bottle gets removed, and so now they're just on the actual scent the person leaves behind as they walk. This is, training a dog to do this is the hardest thing that I've ever done in my life. It requires me to read my dog, so I have to take cues from her. I have to know when she's on scent, off scent, different things as she's just going, and she'll do a hook. That may indicate, oh, I smell odor this way. She may do a hook and turn, which tells me it's negative that direction. So that it was very difficult to learn as a handler.
The canine handlers probably train more and harder than just about any subspecialty on the team. We all have full team trainings every month, and all the subspecialties train, but these guys are working all the time.
I train with the team, 7 hours a week in trailing, and 3 hours a week in human remain detection, along with my job.
Any other questions? Yes.
Where do you get the dogs from? And how long is the training process?
So each handler presents a dog to the team for potential to work as a handler. So we each get our own dog knowing the required suitability. And that is kind of learned because you have to apply to help the dog team, come with the dog team out and train before you ever work a dog on the dog team. So it's quite a process also to get on. We know that we want the certain type of dog we want. We want a dog with high motivation, high energy, high intelligence. So when I knew I wanted to work a dog, I went to a dog trainer I did a lot of research. I went to a dog trainer, interviewed them up in Oroville. They breed working dogs specifically, police canines, dogs that do bomb detection, that kind of thing. And then I told him that I paid to get the pick of the litter, and I told them that I wanted the best nose. I wanted the dog with the best nose. And so he set up with all the puppies. I told him I wanted a female too. He set up a test it was actually a hot dog with inside, a bunch of hot dogs in the end of a lady's nylon, and he walked a trail with that behind him, and then he had us cross with all the puppies going across it, and all the puppies went that way, and she went nope, right turn, and followed that scent. And that was how I picked her, because she had that desire to follow the scent.
Are there particular breeds that do this work?
So there's not any particular breed that's required, but generally the dogs that have the longer nose are able to go longer, because short-nosed dogs don't have that ability to go that long, generally speaking. And just dogs that have been bred for work have had genetically bred into them that working desire or training just by genetics. So German Shepherds, Belgian Malinois, Dutch Shepherd, drawing a blank, it was Carol's dog was on there, Border Collie, those are labs, those are very common dogs that work in search and rescue. Oh, and then 2 years, 1.5 to 2 years is the training time.
But for the dogs, it's a game.
Yeah, it is a game.
And then you get their reward at the end, so. Anybody else? Well, thanks very much for coming.
Thank you so much, John and Laura. Boy, you really enlightened us about all the work you do, which is so important. And we really appreciate all of your answers to the questions and everything else. So very, I think the sheriff said it, and I thought, well, that's exactly what you do. You do it with your heart and your values. So keep going. Thank you very much.
So this is your advertising? Really? How would people know? It's available.
We have a website.
to the here. If it happened here, just call. Because I saw San Ramon.
No, that just happened to be where the last few searches happened to be there and had good pictures.
It's happened here too.
Sometimes we're busy searching, and they take pictures.
Oh yeah, we did an intern, like, some of us were out searching. We had a Temple member that got, kind of wandered off. Asher, when Asher, remember, went missing for a little bit, and we were literally out looking for him. I don't think they ever got to the point where they enacted the search and rescue.
In the camp?
Yes.
I know.
What's that? I don't have a way to get in the gate. They never gave me that.
Oh, well, just, yeah, go get one. Okay, here's the thing I'm sending you right now.
So wait a minute, you are our sheriff right now, here?
The search
In
and
one
rescue
of-
team is sponsored by the sheriff's department, but we're all volunteers.
You are in a group of volunteers.
All 240 of us are volunteers, so none of us are paid.
So how people know that you can volunteer over there?
Well, that's why we do the recruiting like this. And we're doing recruiting now, actually, and then we have a training academy every fall. September, so we recruit from like February to June. And it's quite a screening process, so you have to go through an initial orientation, where we try to talk them out of it before we even get an application form, because they've got to know what they're signing up for. And then they go through oral interviews after they submit an application, and then if they're accepted that, then they go through a background check with the sheriff, fingerprinting, in order to be accepted. And then they go through training.
I appreciate it. Thank you so
I had
much.
an interesting experience. I'm an ophthalmologist. I had a patient miss an appointment with me. Turned out that he was part of a search team looking for a nephew that had gone missing in the Oakland Hills. This was around 1965 or 66. And it turned out that they found his body had been struck by lightning. I think all the years I've been out here, I've only seen about one lightning strike.
Yeah, we don't get that very often.
No. In the Midwest where I'm from, we have lightning storms twice. Yeah, I lived well, I lived in Chicago a while, but saw more lightning in Cincinnati where I'm from. Used to have lightning storms twice a week. And had to caution people playing football. You see lightning off there.
That's a spam, throw it away. It's a spam. It's a spam.
They all climbed up on the roof.
Don't
look at it. Oh, that's great. Put up your umbrella.
Yes.
Well, back there you have lightning rods on every house and pole.
I was planning to call her. Yeah. Well, I'm pretty sure. I just. Thank you so much. I was fascinated. I had a kind of an opposite experience. It doesn't have so much to do with the police. It was in Concord in that strip where Joanne's used to be, and there's a whole bunch of ethnic restaurants. And I don't even know what I was doing. It doesn't matter. But there was a little girl walking alone.